So I wanted to do a little video today talking about my RCBS RCII press. I really like this press. It's very strong. I've never had any mechanical operation issues with it, but I could see some improvement that it needed. One thing I wanted to do with this press is see if I could modify or create something that would allow me to have a better use of the primer dispensary function when you punch out a used primer. There's this little slot right here cut in the RAM, and when you punch a primer, the primer will come down this slot. It will come down this slot here, and it will fall out. So I thought I'd come up with some kind of catcher system that will funnel the primers out and lead it into a bin somewhere. I looked at some aftermarket kits that I'd seen online from recommendations from some people on a reloading forum that I was on, and it's a really nice 3D printed system that will mount on the back here in this area. But the only problem with this press, this particular model, you have to turn the press ram around 180 degrees so that this slot here is on the back side to interface with this primer catcher system. The only problem for me is that one of the cartridges that I load the most is 3030 Winchester, and I have some cases that for some reason or another the primer pockets on those are very tight. So the best way for me to prime those with new primers is to use my press here instead of something like a Lee hand primer press, because it just doesn't seat primers. And this is the factory priming setup that comes with the RCBS press. It goes here, and you use a pin or a bolt or screw or whatnot, and it goes through, and have a little nut here that I put on it. But anyways, what happens is you put your case in here when there's not a die on, run the case up, put a primer in here, and then push this in, and then you seat your primers this way. I took a little time and I sat here and I tried to figure what I could come up with to make this system work like I wanted it to. So let me get you moved around here in the camera, and then I'll show you what I've got. The idea here was to have something that I could put down on the floor or mount to the leg of my press table. And I had these laying around. This is a cutoff from a military type camo netting tent pole. I use the tent poles to make a shooting table that I have. So I had these cutoffs laying around, and I thought, hey, that would work real good because I can mount it to the leg of my reloading press table. And it's, you know, it's real skinny, not real big, but it will hold a whole lot of primers if I want to leave it there for a while. Next up, I've got this little block here that I had to make. It goes in the press ram in the primer chute channel. There's a problem with the channel on this press is that the channel's cut so long, it goes almost so far down that it hits the bottom of where the frame is. So you have to basically shorten that little channel up so that it will engage with the primer catcher. Now, this is my whole primer catcher device, and when you put the block in the press ram, it moves the slot up so it ends right here, and then it'll funnel primers into the catcher. So this little device here, it's just made out of an old 300 Winchester Magnum case that I cut a slot in that will mate up to the opening in the press ram, and I soldered a little piece of 3/16 inch thick brass to it, soldered a nut to that, because I wanted to not have to do any modifications to my press, so I used what's already there, the existing mounting boss for the primer setup, and then I use this little black brass screw that goes through and engages into this nut. And then I also have this stop to keep it from rotating so far, so it keeps everything kind of in adjustment. And then I soldered this copper pipe on. That's the little chute for the primers to come out of. And sorry, my soldering skills are not the best, so please don't beat me up in the comments for that. I'm working on it. But let me go ahead and get you moved around, and I'll show you how this thing mounts up. We got the mounting points for the catcher tube for the primers. Down here is just a little angle bracket, and I've got a screw in it as a pin to engage the bottom of the bin with. And then I have a little screw here that's a slot. that engages this slot right here on the tube. So this just basically mounts in up like so. It stays there. So in order to get the press set up, the first thing you got to do is take the little block here for the primer chute, insert it. It's just a piece of pine with a hole drilled that's got a rare earth magnet press fit into it, so it fits really tight in here. And this thing, it doesn't move once you get it in place. Now to mount the actual primer catcher, I've got this little piece here. It slides in the original primer setup boss, and take the brass screw here, just thread it in, and I've got it set up with this stop screw so it doesn't go so far forward and doesn't hit the ram. And I don't have to tighten it up real tight, just get it snug to where it sits right into place. Right there will do. So when I run a case up, this is just a universal depriming die. I'll deprime it, primer catcher catches it here in the old 300 Winchester Magnum shell, and a primer will shoot down through the copper tube into our primer catcher bin. So I'll run a few cases to show you what it looks like. I don't know if you can see, and I'm sorry if I block the camera here while I'm changing out shells. I don't know if you can see when these shoot out, but they do come out right down here through into the bin. And I've set this up too, so they'll just drop right out through gravity, so I don't have to run any kind of connector tube that I have to end up messing with, because I found that if I have to make any excess bends on this while it's set up, I could tweak it out of alignment. But it works pretty good. And I've tried large primers and small primers, and I don't have any jams with it so far. I did have this set up different originally. I had a 90-degree elbow that came off to this side. I was using this piece of plastic tubing here, and it came in from the side. I did have to use a stop block that would keep my press arm out a little bit. And I liked this system at first, but I found that sometimes I would get so many primers stacked up in here they wouldn't slide easily because of the sharp bend, and it would jam up on me. So I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and rethink it, and I came up with this design, and it seems to work perfect. So I thank you guys for watching. That's all I have for now. I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys get some ideas for your own presses and are able to kind of take my idea and modify your own thing and make something that'll work for you. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you want. I'd appreciate it. And y'all have a great day.